Again, hopefully we keep a good connection here. Hopefully we get a really good one of these. I'm hoping so. Might be the only walk I do today. I'll try to do the other probably inside on the bike. I'm gonna get my second one in here. So that being said, good workout today. I'm pretty happy with it. Did find though when I went a little heavier on some stuff, so everything went to failure. Like for my third set of bench, I could not replicate the set, but I lost 2 reps before I failed. But I'll take that because it went 10, 10, and then 8. But I mean, it was 245, so I'll take that. I'll take that. I also threw in some shoulder work, making some adjustments. Also decided I definitely want to do pull-ups instead of chin-ups. I don't want to risk losing my back width. So I kind of did 2 different types just to kind of assess how I feel different. I did my really wide ones, which I can't go all the way up, and then I did my final set in close, where I can get all the way chin over the bar, which I can't even get my chin to the bar with a wide grip. And people will argue about it, but I can't do it. I can't do it with a lat pull down. But I actually kind of liked the closer grip. I'm like, so I may go ahead and just do those for a bit. How you doing, Esther? Also, we whooshed. We got a swoosh. I'm down to 210. Did a little bit of just playing around posing on the thing. I'll put up the pictures of those 2 from the thing. Yeah, I'm just slowly tightening up. Obviously, I still have fat and loose skin around the waistline with this cut, but that's okay. I mean, we're making progress, just chipping away. So overall happy with that, but also realizing that once I get leaner, my waist is going to be pretty small. Now that I'm looking at some of the angles when I hit the poses, I just have to continue to burn the fluff off. But we're now at 210, so I'll take the win there. All right, take the win, keep the diet super clean. I do feel like I got to be careful when I go too ultra low fat. I think I do want to keep some avocados in my diet anyway. I break it down, I've also realized I just don't need as much protein sometimes as I've been loading. I mean, the data is pretty clear on that. And I don't think there's any way I'm going to ever hit less than 150. I could probably literally take the chicken out and just do dairy. And my whole foods are so high that even my carb and fat sources from my plant stuff is probably 60, 70 grams of protein easily. Dairy is always superior though. So I always try to make sure I get some dairy protein every day. I think that's really key. I've had people ask me on that. I'm like, look, if you don't, I like meat personally, but dairy, right? With dairy as a protein. Again, usually the best availability. We can argue about tit for tat with some of the animal source proteins. They're all pretty good. It's just there's other stuff involved with them as far as other nutrients. I think that comes up when people bring out red meat like beef versus chicken. It's not actually the best bioavailable protein. Beef isn't compared to stuff like dairy or eggs or whatever. But the B12 on it's crazy good. Like it just destroys chicken on B12 and iron and things. But so does the dairy. So I think that's kind of the point I always make. With dairy protein is it kind of gives you everything that you want from beef also. Right, all that B12, but then it has all the calcium and magnesium. And, everyone talks about magnesium deficiencies. I'm like, dude, you guys are getting 50 plus grams of protein from dairy every day. There's no way you're magnesium deficient. All right. So just something to point out. But yeah, dairy also super high in B12. Same thing. I mean, you start getting that much dairy protein, you're not going to be deficient in B12. But yeah, I think for me, I threw the avocados in. It felt really good. I feel like that might have even helped me whoosh finally. Probably not. It was over the 4 hours of cardio I did. But I just want to be careful of not getting dietary deficiencies when I run. Brown rice and chicken breasts are my only source of protein or source of fat, along with the extra strength fish oil. It's like, could be a little low. So I think I want to keep the avocados in. Plus they're priced really well where I live right now. Like they're like pennies, and they're kind of a superfood. You know, so along with the sweet potato and broccoli. I think those are going to be more of my staples. I do like to throw the peppers on stuff. I think they just look good for the pictures, really. So I just dice the little mini peppers up. But I don't know why this isn't getting any views yet. I hope it's hitting people's feeds. You know, what do you do? But happy with the workout, though. I mean, that went really good. And I decided not to add extra quad work, you know. And people who are like, you could do that. I'm like, but I got to recover from all this cardio, you know. And I feel like at this point, what if I stop taking creatine? Okay, so what is your question? So what if you stop taking creatine? Well, probably won't see much difference. You might lose a pound or two of water. I mean, I take creatine again these days, but for me, it's not even about gains. It's mostly the potential for cognitive benefits. I'm here, Jason. One of us needs to do some cardio. All right, well, I'm getting my walk in. Well, like the guy says, how about we both get some cardio in? All right, how about we both get some cardio, then everybody wins. So Ali G says, will I get weaker? No, probably not. If you do, it'll be placebo, right? Hit that like button, by the way, guys. We got people asking questions and no likes. That actually what makes it not go into people's feeds. Hit the like. So Ali G, Booyakasha. Sorry, that popped in my head because of the old Ali G skit. But you'll check this. My man Ali G over here is asking if he stops taking creatine, is he going to get weaker? So, no, Ali. You probably won't. If you do, it's placebo. It'll all be in your head. It shouldn't be a noticeable difference in your strength, right? Creatine's very minor in its role. You might lose a pound or two of water, but that's about it. I don't know, even though I'm not a big supplement guy and I'm against most supplements, I'm starting to almost view creatine as almost a mandatory, mainly because it's really cheap. We know it works slightly, but the main thing, I'm looking at that cognitive stuff. What's up, Peppermint? It's a little slow in here, man. Maybe now that you're in here, though, this will kick up because you tend to post a lot and we'll get more people in here. We'll get them like up. We're at 210 today, by the way. We've whooshed. I had a little vacuum and then did a side chest and stuff for the thing, and then I'm going to put some pictures. I took like 4 screenshots in it, even at the start. 2 from the vlog. I can tell, even though I've still got the fat and the loose skin, I've got to keep burning down. My waist is going to be really small compared to my lats and stuff once I get lean. So I think it's going to be very marketable. So yeah. So Peppermint too. People are going to call me, be like, man, I finally had one set today where I lost reps on the final set going to failure. It finally happened. Because everyone's like, that's not true. You can't replicate performance, and I've been doing it. So I went up heavier on my bench, and I got 10-10, and then I failed out on rep 9 on the 3rd set. So we did have a set today. This is a big deal. One of my sets today going to failure, I lost reps. It actually happened. It's kind of a big deal. I always tell people you shouldn't be losing many reps. I mean, it should be minimal. No, I didn't get the 9th. Like, I missed it. But it went 10-10-8. But it was a 245. Flat back with a wide grip. No bouncing. Which means my bench, like, if I extrapolate that to what my max is, my max could be like 350 right now, roughly. Because I did, when I benched 365 for a 2-second pause, I did 350 for 3x10. Is what I was doing. Sorry, 250 for 3x10. It's only 5 pounds under that, you know. Now, granted, it was very soft touch and go, and it wasn't paused. But you guys know that my touch and go is truly barely touch and go. Like my touch and goes, I barely make contact with the skin. There's no bounce. When I do it, and I don't pause. But I think for me, it's going to be that push of, if I really want that silver to golden era look, I've just got to blow my pecs and triceps up, long head of the tricep more. I mean, obviously I'm doing curls and stuff, but realistically, we know for me that's what's going to give that look as I get leaner. Didn't get the waist really small. I did do some shoulder work though. I worked some back in. I realize upright rows probably are the way to go for me, but just keep them wide and don't try to go crazy high. And it doesn't matter. It's always funny. You'll get people who don't like it when you do them that way. But I'm like, but then all these same people talk about impingements. And most of the experts agree, even who think you'll get an impingement from an upright row, that if you keep it wide and you don't go extremely high, like you just stop at your nipples or whatever, or mid-chest, you'll be fine. Jason, I've lost all motivation, respect to your iron will. Well, you don't need motivation. When you set habits, we use our habits. We don't rely on motivation, man. So let's get in and do it. So what matters is the name here, is his name. What do we need to do to get you motivated again? Do you need to get in a call? Do you need a consultation? What do you need here, man? Because I can discuss strategies with you. I mean, this is what I do for a living. I coach. I can get you coaching. I can get you in a consultation call, whatever it is that you need. Let's get you motivated. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Peppermint telling. Because I can outline strategies for bypassing your motivation. Because I'm not motivated every day. I can assure you there's days I get up and I don't want to train. There are days I don't want to be out here at 5 a.m. doing cardio like you guys see me do. But, you know, we set habits, we set schedules, we set routines, and then you build your discipline around these strategies. You know, so it's not about motivation. And it's like people talk about, like you mentioned, the iron will, the consistency, but you can develop strategies for that. I'm not like, how do I put it? I mean, some people will argue this way. No, you really are. I'm not that special, guys. I really am just a normal guy. And so the thing with that, I'm just a normal guy who, you know, reasonably smart dude who figured out how to make these strategies work and apply them. And then you just stay consistent. But I mean, I can get you into a call. They're not super expensive, and we can help you do that. Like, it's not a problem. So hit me up on Facebook, dude. Hit me up on Messenger on my page, and I can get you flowing. Bubba Smith says, my physique looks pretty good, but my love handles ruin it. Well, keep getting leaner. I mean, technically that area ruins mine right now, but I'm cutting. So here's the thing, Bubba. Get up, do some fasted cardio, sort the diet a little cleaner, burn the love handles off, just like I'm doing right now. You know, love handles can go away. No, there's no such thing as genetically can't get rid of love handles. It just means that's where you store your fat, and it's the slowest area to come off. But it's not like it doesn't come off, you know? I mean, this is a fixable problem. So don't look at it as no hope. Look at it and say, okay, well, what can I do about this? You know, it's kind of like if you have multiple fuel tanks on a vehicle, and, you know, one fuel tank has a much smaller fuel line coming out of it. You're like, man, it takes that tank way longer to empty, but you can still get it empty. You just have to keep running it. So look at it that way. Feed Me Mortal says, Jason, if my squat is 315 for a max, what should my belt squat be? I don't know, because the belt squats all vary. Every one of them are different angles, different tensions. Even your range of motion matters. Changing your belt squat by 3 inches on the range of motion could literally reduce the weight 30%. Make sense? So there is no extrapolation. And I'm saying that as a coach who has a big squat, who has a belt squat, has clients with belt squats. There is no formula. There's none. Okay. But what I'm telling you, feed me, there is no formula. So even that data, completely irrelevant. Does that make sense? There is no ratio that you're looking for. And even if you calculate it and find it, as soon as you change your range of motion or footing or anything, you just throw that formula away and have to restart. Dropping in to hit like and encourage others to do so. Appreciate it, Tony D. So that's been something I say more and more. Stop looking for exact numbers on the carryover. What you should be looking for is strength improvement. So what you're looking for is, let's say you have your belt squat at a given spot for 10 reps and you're replicating that form, but you get 20 pounds stronger on it. When you do that, you should say, hey, my squat should be up. That's what you need to be looking at, not looking for, well, how much weight should I have? No. All right? Will it be less than the back squat? Well, yeah. It's going to be way less than the back squat. All right? Hit like for coach. I always look to improve my 6 rep works to gauge strength. Well, I mean, in this case, he's extrapolating, trying to extrapolate strength off of a supplemental lift. And that's especially off of something like that, where it can really have various ranges of motion. It's not going to have a number, you know. What I find is that there's going to be a number for a given person. But what you really should be looking at is, are you getting stronger at the supplemental work, and then see how that carries over. You know? But then also what we find is, does that supplemental work address a weak link? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Is it calculating bench press off a shoulder press machine? So we don't even do that in conjugate. So what we always do when I do conjugate stuff for lifters is they have testers, and we don't even test off rep work, we test off maxes. So what you find is, and I got to get past all this lawn mowing. Hopefully it's not too loud. I apologize if it is, guys, but there's multiple devices running across the street while I'm walking back. We always do testers to where, you know, if this lift goes up, your primary lift is always whatever X amount stronger. So for example, let's say that you know that your back squat is always 30 pounds stronger than your max good morning. And let's say you hit a good morning PR, right? So let's say it's always 30 pounds stronger. And then you come in and you hit a 300 good morning for a max. So then you know that your max back squat is probably 330 when you go for it. Or, you know, you might be looking at, does your floor press carry over? So you might be someone who you always bench 10 pounds more than you floor press. So if you get a floor press PR, then you know that your bench press is up 10 pounds or whatever. Makes sense? So let's say your floor press is always 10 pounds behind your bench, and you've been trying to get to a 315 bench, and you come in and you floor press 305. You know next time you test your bench max coming up that it should be 315. Okay, this is what we look for in carryover. You're never going to find, oh, the percentage for my belt squat for 10, because literally the range of motion itself can change 100 pounds on your belt squat. Just how deep you go, right? But if you do find a ratio like, well, I just do everything ass to grass, hamstrings to heels. Okay, well, in that case, it's easy. So then you find what your belt squat ratio is and you mark it down. And then you use that then to drive up to your max and say, well, I know my max is up because my belt squat for 10 is normally 43%, all right, of my back squat, and I'm up 15 pounds on it. Okay, so you could extrapolate it that way. Or like he said, you can use your rep work on the big lift to extrapolate. Your 6 rep max is up, your 5 rep max is up, and your 1 rep max is probably up. You know, so that's another way that you could approach it. I don't know if we lost the stream or not, though. I'm showing 1 bar. And I don't have any posts. I don't know what's up. But yeah, entering ways to approach the problem. You know, on the other hand, or you could just come in and just test your maxes. You know, that's also that. You know, and it's like, but by that same token, my conjugate lifters, I take the Louis Simmons approach with them. When they start talking about what they know their max is going to be, I won't let them test it because now they're thinking about it. If you're thinking about it, then it's not going to be a true max because you've now psyched yourself out. So, and you've got a number in your mind instead of just adding weight and making jumps until you reach your max. I feel that lifters like having a theoretical max and do a lot to avoid actually doing them. And that's the problem, isn't it, Peppermint? Whereas, and I want the opposite for a serious lifter. Antonio used to get mad at me because I did this to him all the time. Hey, coach, I think my max tomorrow, and I would change his lift. And as your coach, I forbid you from doing that lift. He's like, why? Because you thought about it the night before. And you told me you thought about it. You picked a number. That's it. We're not doing it. I'm going to make you do a good morning instead. I'm going to make you do an incline bench instead. You're not supposed to be thinking about it. It's why Louis Simmons, when he coached groups of guys on conjugate, he wouldn't tell them what they were maxing on until they started warming up. You know? And do you know why? Because he's like, I don't want them to be thinking about it. I want them to just execute. You know? I always give wiggle room for my people at meets on their third attempts too. So we very carefully pick the first and second with contingencies. And then their third attempt, they base it on how the second felt. Yeah, oh, that would hit hard if I was looking forward to the max day. But you know, that's why you shouldn't be thinking about it. And then you told coach you thought placebo or a nocebo. You should have no thoughts about it. You just walk over and max out. That's why I used to conjugate with a random number generator for a while when I used to do it sometimes. So I had a chart, you know, the different lifts, bands, chains, raw, whatever, with a setup so that I had, you know, 50 different lifts that I could max on. And I didn't know which one I was going to get. I got up and started getting ready to train, then hit the random number generator and it would tell me what to max out on. That way I had no ability to think about it. All right, bench press day comes up, all of a sudden I'm doing close grip against 50 pounds of bands, you know. Well, that's what the number generator spit out. Like a random number, or you can draw it out of a hat. That way you can't think about it, you just have to go in and max. If I'm more about muscle growth than 1 rep maxes, anyway, I want to build 100 kilo back strap for 8 to 10 reps. Okay, cool. So get in and build it for 8 to 10 reps. Muscle growth is simple. Strength training is a little more complicated than hypertrophy. You know. All right, just basic progressive overload on your squats. Respect Jason, hit like. Thank you, Carol. Appreciate that. Appreciate them likes, guys. Yeah. But again, scale's coming down, 210, so I'm happy with that today. Like I said, I look decent in the footage today. I mean, obviously I can tell I've still got to tighten up the fat and skin around the waist, but I think definitely the little side chest I did on camera after benching gives me a really good idea of what I'm gonna look like as I get a little leaner. Like it's letting me see the proportions and everything, so I can just kind of look at, okay, so in this area the fat shaves down. This is where we're gonna be. This is, you know, so it's giving me a good idea. You know, get down to like 8-9% body fat. Yeah, I really love the idea of a top set or 2, 3 times a week. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, the full body is always fun. So today it was, like I said, I think I'm going to stick with pull-ups though. I messed with the wide and then the close. I think I'm going to stick with those closer pull-ups. And I'm just going to do curls for biceps and not worry about the other. Because quite frankly, my biceps overtrain almost anyways. You know, my biceps didn't really grow significantly when I was doing 20 plus sets. You know, and really, so I feel like I just need to get in and just do 3 sets of curls to failure every workout. Focus on the pull-ups and just let the biceps come along. I'm going to push pecs and triceps just crazy hard and get the waist smaller. Would you still recommend deadlifting once a week, 3 times a week? I'm deadlifting 3 times a week right now, but I'm only doing 1 set. Joe Blow says, hello, how you doing, Joe Blow? You know, but that's why you have to balance all your recovery out. And I think, you know, with like for me, I think the frequency of squatting and deadlifting I'm doing right now, I think the key to making it work is to say, you know, I'm not going to do something crazy like add supplemental leg work, even though people have suggested, oh, you could. And I'm like, yeah, I could. And I'm like, no, it's probably not wise. Not with all this cardio. I'm convinced also growth stops at 33. No, that's nonsense. You know, the thing is, though, keep in mind, if you're doing deadlifts 3 times a week, you don't have room for much of the posterior chain work. Coach, what sort of rep set range would you recommend for deadlift strength progression for an intermediate? I don't have a set thing. It's going to depend on the totality of your program. You know, people ask me that, but I'm like, in a vacuum? So therein lay the problem. Is the deadlift in a vacuum? So deadlift is all you're doing for the deadlift? Because that matters. Because if you're going to do a bunch of other hypertrophy work, I wouldn't recommend reps and sets on deadlifts at all. Just do singles. Just do singles at 90% or higher. Done. And let the hypertrophy work build it. So if you're going to do a bunch of good mornings and reverse hypers and glute ham raises, I wouldn't do any reps on the deadlift. Right? I would just do singles. But if you wanted to just build the deadlift, say for an intermediate, man, I'd just maybe run some double progression, honestly. I mean, I would vary on the rep ranges because intermediates can still use it to build muscle. But if you're going to do only the deadlift to build the deadlift, you have to be building muscle. You have to think in terms of hypertrophy. You could literally do double progression with 5 to 8 or something for single sets. keep that in mind with the deadlift. You can only handle so much deadlifting, and it's fantastic for hypertrophy. That's kind of the argument I make with people though when they're like, okay, you're right, but you can't handle enough of it to do hypertrophy volumes. I'm like, but it doesn't need much volume. You know what I mean? I mean, realistically, again, when we know that we can grow off 3 sets a week, you take something crazy difficult like a deadlift, and you do 3 sets of deadlift to failure 3 times a week, or 1 set 3 times a week. Does anyone here think that their posterior chain is not going to grow? You're talking about a deadlift to failure. Jason, have you gained significant muscle since mid-30s? Yeah. Yeah. So let's not even count the time I was sick in bed. So at 33, I was laying in a bed, not training or walking. So, but if we go from, like, say the start of YouTube, right? Am I not significantly bigger than 2012 when I was doing YouTube originally, my first year making videos? I think I'm significantly bigger. And I would have been, what, 36? I don't know, something like that. Does that sound right? 36, whatever. I don't know. It's hard for me to do all the math. Yeah, that sounds about right. 5 to 8 has always been a rep range like on the big lifts. Yeah, it's not a bad way to go. But yeah, I mean, so you could literally do that in your dead, because an intermediate, you know, and then they could just test their max every now and then. Yeah, you'd be mid-30s. I think I was 36 roughly. So just a ballpark. I think that's right. I was born in 76, so 2012 should have been 36, yeah. Bigger or leaner, how about both? Why not both? Coach has put muscle on, you can see the difference, right? What a great day to live in the name. I don't do non-fitness chat. No one's, even though I am a Christian, I've been getting rid of all non-fitness chat in here. Go back and compare. Yeah, it's up very clearly. Bigger, leaner, and stronger. Significantly. So at 48 versus 36. Yep. Man, I'll see how that bodybuilding death cult video does with fewer things. I made that, put it up on both platforms. See how people feel about that. All right. Sorry, a little bit of sinuses to clear out. So I don't know. Oh. So yeah, I'm hoping people like that one. I'm hoping that kind of gets some attention too and takes off. Because I think we have to have that discussion again. I saw you dropping out your name. But you know, those conversations need to happen. And I mean, really, let's